This is the Real Digital Transformation podcast series, empowering technology and business professionals to succeed with digital transformation. Now, here's your host, best-selling author Thomas Earl.
Hi, this is Thomas Earl, and welcome to another episode of the Real Digital Transformation podcast series. Today we have with us Kirshna Dunthoori, the founder and CEO of Apty, and we'll be discussing the increasingly important advent of digital adoption platforms, or dApps. Krishna, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Thomas. Happy to be here.
So, for many who have not yet even heard of the term dApp or digital adoption platforms, why don't we start from the beginning and have you tell us what is a digital adoption platform and what is its importance right now in the industry?
Sure. So dApps as an acronym basically stands for Digital Adoption Platforms, right? So these are the tools and solutions that essentially help users to get adapted to any technology, right? So be it an enterprise software in an organization, or be it a SaaS tool, or even be it a banking application or insurance application. Sometimes you go and you get confused on, all right, what do I do? Which form do I fill? Or where do I click? So what dApps do is they sit as an overlay and basically guide the user like a step-by-step navigation on these applications to do whatever they're there to do, right? And we all have kind of come across these tools. We just probably didn't know that there's a category for it, and they're called dApps. But anytime you get into a new software and something pops up and says welcome, let me guide you through, explain you the lay of the land, those are all kind of dApps.
And so when we talk about the user who's using a dApp, what is the typical profile of that user? Is that somebody in the workforce who is a non-technical person trying to assemble some form of automation for the tasks that they do or their department does overall? Or are dApps more for technical IT people?
No, actually, dApp is for any end user that uses technology to do their job today, right? So, this could be you, me, or anybody, working for any company or organization that has, software that people interact with on a day-to-day basis to do any tasks. So they're all dApp users. Anyone who goes through kind of traditional training and all that, but at the same time, if they're having to do that within the app and some interactive guidance is telling them what to do, they're already using an app.
And so dApps are specifically for no-code implementations of some form of automation. Is that a good way of describing it?
Yes, but it's a little bit more than that, right? So think of dApp as a solution that enables an end user, and again, this end user could be an employee of a company or an end user of an application, or just in general a technology user, right? So any user who is using a piece of technology, and when you have that user use the technology through dApp, it just enhances their experience overall, because there's some help that is guiding you on how to get adapted to the technology quickly.
Okay, perhaps it would be best if you could give us an example of a common scenario that involves the use of a dApp, maybe a typical implementation of it that you've seen in the workforce these days.
Absolutely. So let me take an example. In fact, I'll take one of our customers' examples, right? So one of the largest insurance company is health insurance company in the country is our customer, and they have Salesforce as their main CRM, right? They have about 45,000 employees. that interact with Salesforce on a day-to-day basis. Some of the users come every day, and some users come once in a week, maybe once in a month, or even once in a quarter. Now, CRM being one of their business critical system, and it is the system of record for any customer and engagement and account relation information. So take a scenario where there is no DAP to begin with, right? So, if there is no DAP, then what you have to do, you have to somehow train all of these 45,000 people, right? So there's traditional ways of training these users, where you use some kind of, web-based training, or, in old days, even classroom type of training, and, or department level training or something like that. And have a lot of user guides and all to help the user through. They're effective, but the impact of those traditional training is not long lasting, right? Because these days the technology changes quickly, and business processes changes quickly, right? And change management happens, more often than what we all used to do, or are familiar with 10 years ago. So therefore, one of the biggest challenges, how do you make sure that all of these 45,000 users that are using CRM are well versed with everything that they have to do, right? Different roles have different things to do in the system, and different departments have different processes. With the help of DAP, Thomas, what we can do is we can actually streamline this end user experience. Let's say if I am an account executive working in the east side of the country, and I have certain processes that I need to follow in CRM, the last thing I want to do is remember all the navigation, remember all the forms that I need to fill, remember all the fields that I need to update every time I log into the CRM. Instead, what the DAP will do is, as soon as I log into Salesforce, it basically knows who I am, and it guides me through these processes, right? Literally as a GPS, it'll tell me, okay, click here, go to this form, go to this lead, go to this opportunity. These are the 5 fields that you need to, fill up based on, where you are in the life cycle of this particular opportunity, versus, some other user from Europe logs in and they might have a slightly different process. It's all the same system, but depending on the role, people do things differently. And this is what DAP can streamline and make it very, very easy by offering in-app guidance, contextual help, and real-time support all together in one solution.
Okay, so if we, 2 questions actually. I'm just curious: are DApps being used right now with robotic process automation to help end users put in place automation to replace manual data entry tasks and things like that? Is that something that DApps are capable of doing right now?
In some use cases, definitely yes, right? So DApp's primary use case is help users get adapted to the technology, right? And go through the change management easily and all. And as more and more DApps are evolving, again, with the capabilities that, AI is bringing, and the RPAs are bringing, you can enhance DApps. And in some cases, Apty already does it, and there are a few other players who do that in the market, where you can expand and enhance the onboarding and user help experience with some automation of tasks, right? If there are, let's say, mundane tasks like, reviewing expenses or approving leaves or even updating some opportunities in a CRM or something like that, you don't necessarily have to go through all the screens and all the steps that you do every single time. You can just instruct DAP to do it on behalf of you, and it'll do it for you.
So a given DAP product or platform, it needs to have the capability of integrating itself with different
Correct.
underlying platforms or backend systems in order for it to abstract the complexity of it, to simplify the experience for the user. But there are so many different types of platforms and systems and environments that organizations use. What is the DAP vendor marketplace like? Is each DAP product capable of the same range of integration than others, or are there now specialized DApp products where one might be focused on accounting software and one might be focused on inventory management, and then it has all the integration and API capabilities for a set of legacy systems? How does that all exist right now in the marketplace?
All right. I gotta say, excellent question, because those of you from audience who are listening and learning about dApps first, this is one big, in some cases a confusion as well. Like, okay, how can you have a dApp integrated from the backend with all these applications, right? It sounds almost practically impossible. So if I can maybe just take a quick step back, Thomas, and explain, in layman terms, how dApp tool actually interacts or integrates with applications, because dApps are built as platform agnostic, right? So if there is a dApp that can work on Salesforce, it can work on Dynamics, it can work on your website, it can work on homegrown application. So it's not really dependent on the underlying application, right, or underlying application. How do we do it? So we basically put a dApp as an overlay on any application or software that you have through the browser, or if it's a mobile app, then through the mobile interface, right? So what this allows us to do, Thomas, is be it Salesforce, be it Workday, be it Oracle, whatever it is, when I deploy dApp as an overlay on this tool, and when the tool loads into the browser, then I automatically have access to what we call as the DOM, and which is where we can put all of these help instructions and stuff. So what this technically means is you don't have to have backend integration with any of the application, and that's what allows dApps to really scale fast and apply the solution to any technology out there, as long as it's a web-based or mobile technology.
Could you give us a bit more technical insight as to how that actually works on the back end, in reference to the DOM? So, I mean, typically any sort of layer of abstraction, anything that abstracts systems on the back end would need to interact with some form of API, would need to be designed to interact with the specific APIs in order to establish communication, data exchange.
For sure.
How is this accomplished?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So for like I said, the classic use case of dApp is primarily helping users with onboarding, on-screen guidance, on-screen help, contextual help, and real-time support, right? So for this part where the API call is not involved, we basically interact with the metadata on the DOM itself. Like, we basically help identify the elements on the screen, be it CSS, XPath, or a combination of sometimes even JavaScript elements on the screen, where, as long as we can just read the metadata of, for example, those of you are familiar with a CRM system, like, okay, where is the home button, or which, button that I need to click to open the leads page, or once I open the lead page, then how do I click on new and create a new lead and all. You can simply go and record these instructions, and when you are recording, what we grab is the metadata of these elements, Thomas. Then you create on-screen guidance in instructions based on whatever your process is for your company. Now, this is step one. The step two is, again, using the kind of low-code, no-code platform. You can now expand that instruction and do an API call to actually perform an action, right? So in that case, again, the backend integration is happening with a traditional API call that I'm pretty sure you're familiar with, but all the on-screen guidance and the contextual help is happening at the browser level or at the mobile app level, using the DOM elements only.
Okay. So dApps interact with the underlying platform's user interface layer.
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. Similar to how RPA works, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
Pretty much the same thing, whereas RPA starts and ends with automating tasks, executing the API calls. Now, if you could basically expand that to help the users with in-context and in-app guidance also, that's what dApp is.
Got it. And the DOM that you've been referencing is essentially like an API to the web page content.
Pretty much, yes.
Okay.
You said that right. Yeah.
Okay, super. Okay, that's very smart. And so you take so we're getting a bit closer to our time, but I'm just curious how so different DApp products, do they design the user experience that they then present to the users? Do they design the experience differently as well? So do some dApps choose to simplify an interaction with a Salesforce system in one way, another dApp vendor might choose to do it in another way. So when users look at the marketplace, they go, yeah, I like how these guys are doing it. They simplify it, the communication's clear. These others are not doing it as well. Is that where the real value and intelligence lies in dApp products in terms of how you craft what you present to the user?
Yeah. The way I mean, basically DApp as a solution itself, Thomas, though, we have some prepackaged, let's say material or content that will help the customers to kickstart their DApp implementation. But in 99% of the case, think of implementations like this, right? So like, two different companies buying a CRM, has different configuration on their side, right? Because they have slightly different processes, the way, their forms look different, their processes, look different, even the roles might be slightly different and all. So what these dApps offer is the solution, which is the software itself, and then we provide them with a no code studio meant for the SMEs on the customer side. So if you are an SME on the customer side who really understands, your business processes well on your CRM, you then use the studio, just simply record all those processes to our dApp. So in other words, you create the content. You see what I mean? So we don't supply anything upfront, because even if I'm supplying, on-screen guidance, content, as soon as two different people configure CRM differently, then it's obsolete. But we do have starter packages to get you started quickly.
Okay, super. That's really interesting. It's a whole new dimension to, yes. Not just digital technology adoption, but just to how we plan to realize our greater digital transformation initiatives and how we can introduce all the change that comes with it more effectively, perhaps more gracefully and smoothly with those in the workforce who will be impacted by it the most. So I think that for many organizations, this is a key link to a more successful results in their digital transformation initiatives and all the investment and effort that goes with those. Thank you for sharing all that insight. Please tell us more about Apty, what you're doing with Apty, and how you exist right now in this marketplace.
Sure. So I started Apty journey before itself, right? Because I come from a software implementation background, where my first company that I started, back in 2009, we used to implement enterprise softwares. And one of the biggest challenge that, we have seen, Thomas, at the time is, technology adoption and change management. So change is one of the most challenging aspects of any business transformation, right? Especially when it comes to adopting new digital tools. Employees often resist change. They don't like they don't like to sit through the trainings and all that. And no matter what we were trying to make sure that the customers get the best usage out of their technology and the software, it was only showing limited results. And that thought process, over the years, basically evolved into, hey, we got to find a better way where we are helping the end users, basically, go past this fear of change and easily and quickly adapt to anything that the software is bringing to them. And that's how kind of, DApp tools evolved. And, when Apty, made its way into the market in 2018 and 2019 is when we started bringing this to the market. We immediately saw the gap that, dApps can play a crucial role in easing the transition by offering in-app guidance, contextual help, and real-time support. And since then, we have had, over 150 customers that are using the dApp on enterprise tools.
Oh, that's amazing. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So thanks again, Krishna. I think this is very insightful. I think there's more to discuss in this topic area, because there are so many different ways it can be applied and so many different considerations as to how it can be positioned within an overall digital transformation initiative, because it's not just limited to one system. I'm sure there are a range of applications for this within a given organization. So I hope we can have a continuation of our chat again sometime soon.
Absolutely, looking forward to it.
Thank you so much, Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Follow Thomas on LinkedIn